As can be seen in the U.S. gun violence archives, more than 43 million guns have been purchased in the U.S. from 2021 to 2022. At the exact same time, the rate of gun-related violence and deaths is at the highest it has been since 1995, with more than 45,000 gun fatalities within that same year. These gun-related fatalities affect everyone, from elderly, parents, teachers, and even elementary school students. To keep our young children and communities safe, we need stricter laws in the U.S. pertaining to gun control. I will present to you staggering facts and figures from National Scholastic, the U.S. Gun Violence Archives, the Washington Post, and even the Supreme Court, all supporting the crucial fact that the United States should pass stricter regulations on guns. The United States should pass these stricter regulations on guns. By doing this, we can limit the amount of people who have mental trauma and access to guns. We can make sure everyone who owns a gun has passed an extensive background check. And we can limit the amount of assault rifles and extended magazines that are in circulation. Guns, specifically assault rifles, are almost solely responsible for the rise in homicides and mass killings from 2017 to 2022, according to the Washington Post. As can be seen in the National Library of Medicine, about 40% of mass shootings are associated with non-psychotic mental illness, such as depression or substance abuse. In most states, there is no mental health screening for a gun license. The only requirement is for a person to have never been mentally institutionalized, and most people with non-psychotic mental illness do not receive professional help. This leaves the door open for people with mental illness to commit gun violence. According to the U.S. Gun Violence Archives, there is no extensive background check on people purchasing guns, even assault rifles, in the U.S. The only requirement of the background check is to have no felonies. According to the Washington Post, a 19-year-old teen in Florida was able to legally purchase an assault rifle and kill 17 of his schoolmates, even though he had been suspended for fighting, had depression, had a history of killing animals, and even had brain development issues. If there was an extensive background check of even just his social media, he would have never passed the screening, and those 17 children that he took from the world might still be here. Assault rifles and extended magazines are weapons of warfare. According to the U.S. Supreme Court, President Bill Clinton signed the assault weapons ban in 1994, which banned AR-15s and other assault-style weapons. After this ban, mass shootings were down from the previous decade, and they were even down compared to the decade after the assault weapons ban had expired. This shows a direct correlation between the accessibility of assault weapons and mass shootings in the U.S. Now, the gun control debate is a very two-sided one. Many Americans want to leave the gun laws unchanged and believe that trying to further restrict them infringes on our Second Amendment rights. Some think that being able to carry concealed weapons actually reduces crime, and that bans on assault weapons would interfere with people who enjoy hunting and shooting. Some Americans say that stricter gun laws actually hurt our Second Amendment rights. According to the U.S. Supreme Court, the McDonald versus the City of Chicago ruling stated that the Second Amendment right is an individual right for all lawful citizens. While this may be true, according to the U.S. Constitution, the Second Amendment also states that guns will be used for lawful purposes, such as self-defense in the home. In recent years, many guns have been used for unlawful purposes, which shows that there has to be some exceptions to the Second Amendment. Also, the amendment states that everyone has the right to a firearm. It does not specify what kind of firearm, which leaves room for an assault weapons ban like the one President Clinton placed in 1994. Some may also say that carrying a concealed weapon can actually reduce crime. According to journalist John Stossel, criminals don't obey the law without fear of retaliation from victims who might be packing heat. Although he has a valid point, people do not need semi-automatic weapons to defend themselves. Placing bans on these kinds of weapons would not at all hinder a person who wishes to purchase a firearm for their personal safety. Another thing we often hear from the opposing side is that taking away certain types of guns prohibits people who enjoy hunting and shooting to partake in those activities. According to the National Scholastic, there are 13.7 million hunters in the U.S. 16 years or older, and they spend over $7 billion on assault weapons, extended magazines, ammunition, and hunting gear. Although it is true that banning assault weapons would hurt hunters, allowing assault weapons has hurt a lot of children and families. A hit to the hunting industry is nothing compared to having parents bury their children, children bury their grandparents, and students being traumatized for life in a place where they should always be safe. We have to consider what is most important to us as a country. We must impose stricter gun control laws in the U.S. There should be a national ban on assault weapons like the one President Clinton put into effect in 1994. Someone should have to be 21 years or older to buy a gun, and they should have to go through an extensive background and mental health check. We can all help make this change. There are some ways to support gun control research, such as donating to the cause on the CDC website. I urge you all to contact your local governor and tell him how gun violence in the U.S. has affected you or even in your local community. Insist that he helps make these changes to the law. To conclude, there should be stricter gun laws in the United States. This would limit the amount of people with mental illness who have access to guns, make sure that every American with a gun has gone through an extensive background check, and reinstate a ban on assault-style weapons. It is on us as Americans to convince lawmakers that we need stricter laws. With more than 43 million Americans owning guns and simultaneously more than 45,000 Americans dying of gun violence, it is more important than ever that we enact these laws. Our lives and the lives of our loved ones depend on it.